I wasn't supposed to be in those woods that day. I told my wife I was heading to the hardware store, but I needed space. We'd been arguing. Nothing new lately. And I just needed trees, quiet, and no one asking questions. The forest behind Old Miller's farm stretches for miles. It's not public land, but no one patrols it. Locals call it Deadwood Hollow. Quiet, damp, filled with moss and fog. As I walked deeper in, the stillness settled into my bones. Birds chirped, a squirrel darted up a tree, the usual rhythm of undisturbed nature. Then I heard it, a low, stuttering hum. It wasn't mechanical in the traditional sense. More like feedback from a busted speaker, clipped and glitchy, like it didn't belong in this world. I froze. It was coming from a shallow gully just off the deer trail. At first, I thought it was a drone, someone's lost toy. It was about the size of a basketball, partially buried in damp leaves and dirt, with several bent, metallic appendages poking out like broken insect legs. Its surface shimmered oddly, not like plastic or metal I'd ever seen. When I moved closer, it reacted. A faint pulse flickered along its body, then faded. It was definitely not human-made. I looked around. No one. Just trees and fog and silence. I should have walked away, called someone, but I didn't. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was ego, some dumb idea of being the one to discover something important. I wrapped it in my jacket and carried it back to the truck. When I got it home, I locked it in the garage, under an old tarp. I told my wife it was scrap metal. She didn't ask questions, she was still mad. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about it. About the hum, about how it pulsed when I got close. I went back to the garage at 2 a.m., barefoot and in my pajamas, and pulled the tarp off. It was glowing, just faintly, but it was real. A dull blue light moved in slow waves across its surface like it was breathing. Then a click, a shift. One of its arms twitched, repositioned, almost like it sensed me. I stepped back, heart pounding. For the first time, the thought crossed my mind. This thing might not be broken. It might be waiting. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. By morning, the glow was gone, and the thing looked dead again. Just a weird, broken relic under a tarp. But I knew better. I'd seen it move. I'd heard the click. At breakfast, I barely touched my eggs. My wife, Sarah, noticed. "You look like hell," she muttered, sipping her coffee. "Just didn't sleep." "Headache," I said. She didn't push. We were still on ice. I went out to the garage pretending to fix a busted chainsaw. Closed the door behind me. Locked it. The object, drone, alien tech, whatever it was, had shifted again. Slightly. One of the smaller appendages now pointed toward the ceiling, like an antenna. I reached for it slowly, trying not to spook it. As my hand hovered a few inches above the surface, the thing gave off a soft whoop, like a sonar ping underwater, and a small panel opened along its side. Inside was a lens. It blinked. Not light. Not a bulb. An iris, mechanical, shifting, and unmistakably watching me. I froze. The lens adjusted, focusing. Then a pulse of symbols, glowing white lines, scrolled across the surface beneath it. Like writing. Alien writing. It didn't look like anything I'd ever seen. No symmetry, no recognizable pattern, just jagged glyphs that faded as quickly as they appeared. The garage radio popped on. No one touched it. It buzzed with static, then crackled out a single word in a voice that sounded like it had been passed through a meat grinder. "Observer." I stepped back so hard I knocked over a shelf. Tools crashed to the floor. The drone didn't react. The lens retracted. The panel slid shut. And the thing went dormant again, like it had never moved. I stared at it for what felt like an hour. My skin crawled. Every instinct screamed at me to destroy it, bury it, run. Instead, I covered it back up. Later that day, Sarah said she saw someone parked across the street in a black SUV. Just sitting there, engine running. No plates. She thought it was weird. I told her it was probably nothing. But that night, the drone moved again. This time, I didn't go to the garage. I didn't want it to know I was still watching. I didn't go near the garage for 2 days. Tried to convince myself I imagined it all. The blinking lens, the word observer, the thing watching. But even as I scrubbed dishes or sat through dinner pretending everything was fine, my eyes kept drifting toward the garage door. I could feel it through the walls. Like it was pressing against my brain, waiting. On the third morning, I noticed the trail cameras out back, old ones I set up a year ago to track deer, had been tilted. Not broken. Tilted. like someone had adjusted them on purpose. When I checked the SD cards, I found nothing useful. Except, at 2:47 a.m. the night before, the one closest to the house had gone static for 16 seconds. Then it came back. Same with the second camera near the tree line. Something had passed through. Or someone. That night, I locked all the doors. Windows too. Brought my shotgun down from the attic and loaded it. Sarah noticed. "Are we expecting someone?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Just being careful," I said. "Some weird stuff lately." She paused. "This about that hunk of junk in the garage." I stared at her. "What?" She shrugged. "You've been sneaking around in there for days. I saw it under the tarp. Thought maybe you were fixing something or hiding a midlife crisis." I forced a laugh. "It's nothing." But the tension was there now. I could feel her watching me when I wasn't looking. Later that night, after she went to bed, I cracked open the garage door and peeked in. The tarp had shifted. No breeze. No animals. And I sure as hell hadn't moved it. I stepped in, closed the door behind me. The drone was sitting upright. Before, it had been on its side, crumpled, legs bent. Now it sat squarely on its base, two of its limbs planted on the concrete floor, like legs. Its surface shimmered faintly, and a new marking had appeared along its shell, a circle split in half with a jagged line, like a stylized eye. The same symbol was now drawn, somehow etched, into the inside of the garage door. I turned slowly, heart pounding. Outside, headlights flared through the window slats. A vehicle was parked across the street again. Black SUV. Same one. But this time, there were two men inside. Dark suits. One had binoculars. Watching my house. Watching me. I didn't sleep that night. The SUV stayed until almost 4 a.m. Never moved. The two men just sat there, facing the house. No phone calls, no cigarettes, no signs of life except the occasional movement, adjusting their seats, turning their heads slightly like mannequins twitching to life. When they finally drove off, I waited a full 30 minutes before stepping outside. The street was silent. No tire tracks. No lingering exhaust. Nothing to prove they'd even been there. But I knew. Back inside, I stood in the garage again, staring at the drone. It hadn't moved since the previous night. Still upright, still silent. The etched symbol on the garage door caught my eye again. It hadn't faded. In fact, it seemed deeper, like it had been burned into the metal with a laser. I ran my fingers across it. Smooth. No ash. No charring. That symbol, it wasn't just a marking. It was a message. I grabbed a stepladder and a screwdriver and unscrewed the garage door opener casing. Inside was a compact circuit board, standard issue. Except one of the chips had a tiny slit down the middle, like it had been cut or melted. The door had been disabled. Not broken. Hijacked. I decided to call someone. Not the police. They'd think I was nuts. Not Sarah. She'd demand I throw the thing away and drag me to therapy. I called my brother, Mike. Former military. Iraq, 2 tours. Worked private security now. Not the kind of guy who rattled easily. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "You busy this weekend?" "Depends," he said. "Why? You need help hiding a body." I forced a laugh. "Not yet." There was a pause. "You good, man?" I hesitated. "Just weird stuff. Tech-related. Thought maybe you could take a look. Bring some of your gear." "Sure. I can be there Saturday." I felt a little better after that. Like I had backup coming. That night, I checked the drone again before bed. I don't know why. I just had to. The thing hadn't moved. But as I turned to leave, the garage radio popped on again. Static. Then a voice. Not the same scrambled, robotic tone as before. This one was clearer. "Signal breached. They are aware. Do not transmit." I stepped closer, heart hammering. What does that mean? Who are they? No answer. Just more static, then silence. And then, from behind me, through the crack under the garage door, I saw something move. Not a shadow. Not a person. A shape. Slender. Wrong. It paused, then slipped out of view. I didn't open the door. The next morning, I walked the perimeter of the house. I told Sarah I was checking for raccoon holes in the fence. She didn't believe me, but she didn't press either. Our conversations had grown thinner, stretched tight like wire. Both of us pretending the silence between the words was normal. The backyard was still, humid. The early fog was lifting off the grass. Nothing obvious at first. No footprints, no signs of tampering. Then I saw it. Out by the shed, where the soil stays soft from runoff. a depression in the grass. Thin, long, like something had crouched there, watching. I crouched and brushed the grass aside. Embedded in the dirt were 4 prints. Long, narrow toes. Not human. Not animal. Not anything I could name. Back in the garage, I pulled the tarp fully off the drone. Its surface had shifted again. More of that alien script was now visible, glowing faintly. But this time, the symbols weren't random. They moved, flowing like a stream around the shell, repeating. A warning? Or a countdown? I took photos with my phone, just in case. When I tried to upload them to my laptop, the screen glitched out. Total freeze. When it rebooted, the photos were gone. Not corrupted. Erased. By noon, the SUV was back. But it had moved 2 blocks down, parked beside a vacant house. Same model, same dark tint. One man sat in the driver's seat. The other wasn't visible. I didn't tell Sarah. Instead, I dug through the closet until I found the emergency burner phone I kept from my construction job. Old, clunky. No apps. Just calls and texts. I turned it on and slipped it into my pocket. If they were watching my phone, my devices, I needed something they couldn't touch. That evening, I stayed in the garage after Sarah went to bed. I turned the radio on myself this time. Just static. I whispered, "Who are they?" Nothing. Then I asked, "Why are they watching me?" The drone's lens snapped open like a pupil dilating in the dark. Click. Whir. It projected something. Lights spilling out in the air between us like a 3D hologram. No sound. Just images. What I saw turned my stomach. A view from above. A massive facility. White walls, no windows, surrounded by forest. Vehicles like the SUV. People in black uniforms carrying rifles with no markings. Inside, cages. Not for animals. For machines. Some like the drone. Some. Much bigger. And then a final image, my house. Marked in red. Coordinates flashing beneath it. The projection faded. The drone dimmed. I backed away, chest tight. Whatever this thing was, it hadn't just crashed. It had escaped. And now, they were coming to take it back. I barely moved for the next hour. I just sat on the cold concrete floor of the garage, shotgun across my knees, staring at the dormant drone, trying to slow my breathing. The image of my house marked in red wouldn't leave my head. They knew where I lived. They had marked me. At 2:13 a.m., my burner phone buzzed. No number. Just a single incoming text. Silence is survival. Broadcast and you die. My blood ran cold. No sound. No follow-up. Just those 7 words. I pulled the battery out and chucked the phone into a drawer under the workbench. Whatever network they were using, they were already inside it. That message didn't come from a tower. It came from somewhere else. Back inside the house, I checked on Sarah. She was asleep on the couch, TV still playing some documentary. I stood there for a second, watching her chest rise and fall. She didn't know how close the fire was. I didn't sleep again. I sat at the kitchen table until the sun came up, every creak of the walls sounding like boots on the porch. At 7 a.m. sharp, Mike's truck pulled into the driveway. I stepped outside, relief hitting me like a warm wind. He climbed out, jeans, gray t-shirt, tactical duffel over one shoulder. Always looked ready to fight a war. His eyes scanned the neighborhood before they landed on me. "You look like hell," he said. "I earned it. Show me." Inside the garage, I peeled the tarp back. Mike didn't say anything for a long time, just crouched beside the drone, studying it. He tapped it with a screwdriver. No response. "What the hell is it?" he asked. "I don't know," I said. "It talks. Sort of. Watches." "Government." "No. Something else." He gave me a look like he wasn't sure whether to laugh or punch me. "You serious?" I nodded. He stood up, dusted off his hands, and unzipped his duffel. Inside were tools, meters, some device that looked like a satellite phone with too many wires. "I'll run a spectrum scan. If it's emitting anything, we'll know what band. We shut it down, isolate the signal." The garage light blinked. Once, twice, then cut out. From the corner, the drone came to life, harder this time. The lens snapped open, limbs tensed, and its body emitted a deep frequency hum that vibrated the metal shelves. Tools rattled. One of the lights above exploded with a loud pop. Mike backed off, reaching into his bag. "Jesus, what the hell is it doing?" Before I could answer, the radio blared. A single word again, distorted but clearer than before. "Run." We didn't move. Then came the sound I'd been dreading, the one I'd been half waiting for all week. Tires on gravel. Doors slamming. Heavy boots on the driveway. Mike turned to me slowly, eyes hard. Company. I nodded. Then came the knock. 3 short raps. Firm. Professional. Someone on the other side of the door said, Mr. Carver, we need to speak with you about an object we believe is in your possession. Mike looked at me. I looked at the drone. It was glowing again, pulsing faster now, like a heart in panic. I didn't open the door. Neither did Mike. We stood in the garage, the drone between us, humming like it was charging something deep inside. The knock came again, harder this time. Mr. Carver, please. We are not here to harm you. We just want to recover what doesn't belong to you. I recognized the voice. It was the passenger from the SUV. I'd seen him through the window, square jaw, gray suit, the kind of face you forget 5 seconds after seeing it. Mike whispered, You expecting backup? Not like this, I said. A third knock. Slower now. More deliberate. Last warning. Open the door, or we open it for you. Mike pulled me back behind the tool bench. They're not cops, he said. Cops don't knock 3 times. Then it happened. The garage door didn't blast open like in movies. It didn't even creak. It peeled, quiet and steady, as if the metal was being unzipped from the inside out. A vertical seam split down the center, glowing red along the edges. No sparks. No cutting tools. It just melted. Mike raised his weapon. I grabbed the shotgun. But the drone acted first. Without warning, it shot out a blinding blue arc. No sound, no delay, just pure force. It hit the garage door like lightning and sent a ripple through the entire structure. Everything not bolted down shook. I dropped to the floor. When I looked up, the door was sealed again, like nothing had ever touched it. No sign of a seam. No red glow. No men in suits. Mike's mouth hung open. What the? The drone turned slightly. One of its limbs extended, pointing toward the house. Toward Sarah. The radio crackled again. This time, it didn't speak in English. It sounded like a warning. Urgent. Harsh consonants. Something in it made my teeth hurt. And then, silence. Mike backed away from the thing, sweat on his brow. That's not human tech. No kidding. We didn't hear the agents leave. No footsteps. No retreating engine. When we finally opened the garage door an hour later, the driveway was empty. The street was quiet. Not even birdsong. Mike stepped outside first, scanned the tree line with binoculars. Nothing. He turned to me. You need to tell me everything. So I did. Told him about the crash, the forest, the glowing, the messages, the images, the facility, everything. He didn't interrupt. Just listened. When I finished, he stood silent for a while, then looked at the drone. I think you're right. That thing didn't crash. It escaped. And whoever wants it back, they're not from the Pentagon. I exhaled slowly. Then who? Mike looked me dead in the eye. They're not here to study it. They're here to contain it. And if they can't, they'll bury everything around it. The drone shifted again. This time, its surface displayed a map. Zoomed in. Blinking red dot. Our location. And 2 blinking yellow ones, moving closer. Mike stared at the map projected from the drone's surface, his eyes tracing the 2 yellow dots inching their way toward the red marker, us. How fast are they moving, he asked. Too fast for hikers, I said. Not fast enough for vehicles. On foot, he muttered. They're flanking. He reached into his duffel, pulled out a small device, thermal monocular. I'll sweep the yard. As he slipped outside, I turned back to the drone. Its map had disappeared, replaced by a pulsing triangle. 3 corners, 3 symbols inside. The one at the top blinked faster than the others. It reminded me of a status indicator, like something was activating. Do you understand them? I asked the drone. The men in the suits, are they yours? No response. Just the gentle, rhythmic hum. Then the garage radio clicked. A new voice, this one not synthetic at all. Human. Calm. Male. They are not men. The words hung in the air like fog. They were the shape of men, but they are not from your species. They are from the breach. I stepped closer. What breach? Silence. Then, through the crack under the garage door, came a soft scrape. A footfall, light, deliberate. I froze. Outside, Mike's voice came through my phone over Bluetooth. I'd left it recording his comms, just in case. Movement on the tree line. Humanoid. Doesn't match heat signature. Not right. Doesn't have a center. I keyed the mic. What does that mean? No center. No core temp. Like it's hollow. But it's moving. It sees me. The audio cut. I grabbed the shotgun, heart jackhammering. Mike? Come in. Nothing. The garage light flickered once, then held steady. The drone's projection changed again. Now it showed a humanoid shape, tall, slender, gray outline. But inside, nothing. No organs. No skeleton. Just a dark mass flickering like static, with concentric rings where a head should be. It rotated slowly. Construct, the voice said. Containment biology. External mimicry. They weren't men. They were machines wearing men. I opened the side door to the garage and peered into the yard. Still quiet. But something was wrong. The colors were off. The trees looked duller. The light seemed processed. Then I saw him. Mike was standing completely still in the middle of the lawn. One arm raised. Not waving. Pointing. At me. His eyes were wide, but his face was slack. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Something was moving beneath his skin, pulsing like black veins. I called his name. He didn't respond. I raised the shotgun. My hands were shaking. From behind him, the air shimmered like heat rising from asphalt. And then, one of them stepped through. Not a man. Something wearing one. Its face looked real, too real. Skin that didn't flex. Hair that didn't move. But the eyes were blank. Black discs. No whites. No iris. Just void. It looked directly at me. Then it smiled. The garage door slammed shut behind me. The drone pulsed brighter. And on the radio, the voice whispered, "Do not let them touch the signal." I locked the garage side door, braced it with a wrench, and backed away. Outside, Mike hadn't moved. He was still pointing, eyes wide, arm frozen, like something had hijacked the signal between his brain and body. And that thing beside him, it didn't move like a person. No sway, no shift in balance. It just stood there, unnatural and perfectly still, its artificial smile stretching a little too wide. The drone pulsed faster. Its blue light strobed like a warning beacon. Then the projection shifted again. This time, it showed a diagram, crude but unmistakable. Two human shapes. One outlined in red, labeled organic. The other in black, labeled construct. The black one showed internal layers, hollow cavities, strange coils, a dense sphere in its chest pulsing like a compressed star. Then came the overlay of a third shape, the drone. And in a blink, all three merged, then vanished. "No," I whispered. "They're trying to assimilate you." The drone's hum shifted, deeper, angrier. One of its legs retracted, and a thin rod slid from its chassis, ending in a cluster of spiraling prongs. A weapon? A defense? The garage radio crackled again. Same voice, calmer now, clearer. "The drone is not ours. It is a breach fragment. It does not belong here. They will absorb it, rewrite it, then use it to find the rest." I stepped closer to the radio, breathing shallow. "Who are you?" Silence. Then, "Not your enemy." A noise cut through the moment, a hard clunk on the roof. Then another. Boots. They were on the house. I ran back into the kitchen, locked the inside door, and peered out the front window. The black SUV was back, parked at the end of the block, but this time, the back hatch was open. Inside, I saw racks of electronics, monitors, scanners, something that looked like a biocontainment rig. They hadn't come to talk. They'd come to extract. Sarah walked into the room, bleary-eyed, wearing a robe. "Why are there people on the roof?" I grabbed her by the wrist. "We have to go? Now." She pulled back. "What the hell is going on?" I hesitated. I didn't have time to explain. So I didn't. I led her toward the back door. But when I opened it, Mike was standing there. Still pointing. Still smiling. Except this time his eyes were all black. No whites. No pupils. No humanity left. He opened his mouth, but what came out wasn't speech. It was a sound. A droning harmonic. The exact same frequency as the alien drone. And the drone in the garage answered. It roared to life, limbs fully extended, the humming now shaking the foundation of the house. Lights burst. The refrigerator door swung open. Sarah screamed. Mike stepped forward. I raised the shotgun. He didn't flinch. From behind me, the voice on the radio whispered again. "If you let them touch it, they will know everything." I looked into what used to be my brother's face, and I pulled the trigger. The blast hit Mike's center mass, or whatever was Mike. His body folded back unnaturally, like a rag doll with no spine. He slammed into the porch railing and crumpled, limbs twitching in spasms that didn't look like pain, more like shorted-out machinery. Sarah screamed again. She'd never heard a shotgun indoors before. Hell, neither had I. Her hands clamped over her ears as I yanked her back inside and bolted the door. But it was already too late. That sound, the frequency Mike had released, it had changed something. The drone wasn't just glowing anymore. It was transmitting, projecting light and symbols across the walls, the ceiling, even the air. Like a virus looking for a host. The garage shook as if the space itself was rejecting what was inside it. Sarah yelled over the noise. "What the hell is going on? What is that thing?" "I found it in the woods," I said. "It's not human. Neither are the people trying to take it." She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Then, boom. The front window exploded inward. A man, one of the black suit bastards, crashed through the glass, hitting the floor in a perfect, fluid roll. He rose with inhuman grace, face blank, black eyes locked on me, not even breathing hard. I fired without hesitation. Center mass. Same as Mike. He dropped, but not like a man. More like scaffolding collapsing. The skin tore down his arm as he hit the floor, revealing metal rods and some kind of oily, dark tubing beneath it. Sarah screamed again and backed into the wall, hands trembling. Upstairs, I barked. "Go." She didn't argue this time. Another shape moved past the broken window outside, then a second. They were surrounding the house. I grabbed the drone. Its outer shell was almost burning to the touch now, but I didn't care. I shoved it into an old military duffel and slung it over my shoulder. The moment it left the garage, the hum dropped an octave, like it knew it was being moved. We bolted up the stairs just as the kitchen door burst open behind us. Splinters, boot prints, and a hiss like static vomiting through the walls. From the upstairs window, I saw the SUV's back doors, screens flashing, pulsing with the same symbol the drone had projected earlier. But now the SUV was emitting something too. The same droning frequency as the others. They weren't just chasing the drone. They were syncing with it. From the hallway, Sarah screamed. I turned just in time to see one of them climbing through the bathroom window. She hurled a lamp at him. It shattered on his shoulder, barely slowing him down. I fired again. The blast tore half his chest open. Wires, fluid, bone-white ceramic shards. He slumped, twitching. I yanked Sarah down the hallway, through the attic door. Up the ladder. I slammed the hatch behind us and dragged a trunk over it. Sarah knelt in the corner, sobbing. I pulled the drone out of the bag. Its lens was open again, watching me, waiting. I put my face close. "Tell me how to stop them." The lens blinked. Then, for the first time, the drone spoke directly. No radio, no interface, just a voice, smooth and low. "You cannot stop them, but you can sever the link." A diagram appeared, hovering midair, a line running between the drone and a dark sphere, surrounded by symbols that looked like broken satellites. Then a red slash through the middle. Breach node, 47, 644 degrees north, 121, 942 degrees west. Coordinates, Washington State, deep forest. The voice whispered again. "Take me to the breach." Below us, the hatch creaked. They had found us. The attic hatch thudded under pressure. Wood strained. The trunk I'd shoved over it groaned on its hinges, bouncing an inch with each slam. Sarah sat curled in the corner, clutching her knees, mouth moving silently. Prayers or denial, I couldn't tell. I stuffed the drone back into the duffel, strapping it tight. "We have to go." She looked at me like I'd just said we needed to flap our arms and fly. "Go where?" "Coordinates." The drone gave them to me, Washington State. "There's something there. A breach. Maybe the source. Maybe a way to end this." She blinked. "You're going on a road trip with an alien briefcase and a shotgun while skin puppets tear through our house." "Yeah," I said. "That's exactly what I'm doing." Another slam. Louder. The hatch cracked an inch, a black-suited arm punching through. The hand didn't reach. It twitched, fingers flexing in slow, unnatural patterns like it was feeling the air. I raised the shotgun and fired. The hatch exploded into splinters. The hand vanished. "Now," I said, grabbing her wrist. "We used the roof." I kicked open the crawlspace panel that led to the eaves. The drone's hum intensified inside the bag, like it knew, like it approved. Sarah followed me out onto the shingles, still barefoot, trembling. The neighborhood below was dark. No porch lights, no headlights. The street had gone dead. And at the end of it, the black SUV sat like a spider in a web. Still, watching, We dropped off the roof onto the overgrown hedges. I cushioned Sarah's fall, nearly rolled my ankle. No time to feel it. We sprinted toward the truck. Mike's truck. His keys had been in his pocket when I shot him. I checked the duffel. Still had his spare key fob. I pressed it. Beep. The headlights flashed, and every construct in a 100-yard radius turned. They felt the signal. Sarah dove into the passenger seat. I fired once into the direction of the movement. Just noise, just to stall. Then I jammed the truck into reverse and hit the gas. The tires screamed. One of the suited figures stepped into the driveway, raising a palm. Not a gun, just its hand. The drone inside the bag shrieked. A new sound, high-pitched, almost metallic. The suit stumbled back, twitching. I floored it. We tore down the road, hit the main street, took a hard left toward the highway. In the mirror, I saw them standing at the end of the block, shoulder to shoulder. Watching, waiting. Their silhouettes shimmered for a moment, like mirages, then vanished. Sarah wiped blood from her lip. You shot your brother. He wasn't my brother anymore. The drone shifted inside the duffel. The voice came again, not aloud, but inside my head, pressed right up against my thoughts. Time is collapsing. The breach is waking. If they reach it before we do. The thought didn't finish. But I saw something. A flash, not a memory, not a vision. A world burned out. Skies black. Cities pulsing with the same frequency I'd heard in the garage. Human forms walking with perfect symmetry. Eyes black. Voices gone. The constructs had won. Because someone brought them what they were looking for. Because someone failed to sever the signal. I gripped the wheel tighter. They're going to follow us. Sarah turned to me. Then we don't stop. We don't sleep. We end this. Behind us, far behind, in the rearview mirror, the headlights of the black SUV turned on. We crossed into Oregon by dawn. Highway lights gave way to dense pine and early fog. Our truck, one of the only vehicles on the road. Sarah slept beside me, finally, curled against the window with a blanket pulled over her face. She hadn't said much since we left the house, and I didn't blame her. There weren't words for the kind of trauma we'd just been through. The drone was still in the duffel at my feet. It hadn't made a sound in hours. Not that it was off. I could feel it, like an engine idling just behind my eyes. The moment I closed my lids, I saw fragments. Symbols. A kind of language I wasn't supposed to understand, bleeding into my thoughts. My dreams were no longer mine. At a gas station outside Eugene, I pulled into a corner stall and turned off the engine. Sarah stirred. We stopping. 5 minutes. I need air. You need to eat something. She nodded but didn't move. I stepped out and stretched. The sky was overcast, gray and low. A wind was picking up, cold, like something had blown in ahead of us. While the tank filled, I pulled the drone out of the duffel. It looked the same, but something had changed. A panel had opened again along its shell. Only now, instead of a lens, a small object extended from it. A rod, maybe the length of a finger, tipped with a dark crystal-like core. A compass? A transmitter? A key? As I touched it, the hum returned. Low. Focused. A projection flared across the truck's windshield, a ripple in the forest, moving like a tear in the earth. Coordinates blinked again, same as before, but now with a new line of symbols beneath. They translated themselves before my eyes. Protocol. Interference severance required. Secondary breach imminent. Before I could absorb what that meant, the gas pump clicked off. And across the street, a black sedan pulled in. Unmarked. Engine off. Windows too dark to see inside. My stomach turned. I stepped back slowly, slid the drone into the passenger seat, and whispered, "Time to move." Sarah sat up immediately, her instincts razor-sharp now. More of them. I don't know, but I'm not waiting to find out. We pulled back onto the highway fast. The sedan didn't follow. It didn't need to. The radio turned itself on. Crackle. Static. Then a voice. You are approaching sovereign breach territory. Disengage the artifact and return. I yanked the dial. Nothing changed. The containment perimeter has already been breached. Return the object or the failsafe will trigger. Who are you? I shouted at the empty cab. The radio hissed louder. You have no authority here, civilian. This domain is not meant for your kind. The breach is not your concern. Return the signal carrier and evacuate the area. Sarah stared at me, wide-eyed. They're trying to scare you. No, I said, gripping the wheel tighter. They're trying to warn me. The drone projected again. A final image, brief and burning. A structure hidden in a valley. Angular. Dark. Like obsidian grown from the ground. Around it, bodies, human and not, lay strewn like dolls. Some still moving. Most not. Above it all, a rift. A sky fracture. Something trying to come through. The voice returned, softer now. If they access the node, containment fails. There will be no second chance. Sarah leaned forward. Then we bury it. Blow the whole place to hell. The drone's voice came again. This time from the duffel, spoken aloud. You cannot destroy the breach. But you can close it. And then, silence. On the dashboard, the GPS signal cut out. All that remained was the drone's projection. A blinking arrow, leading us into the Cascades. We left the highways behind. The drone guided us now. Its projection hovering just above the dashboard, a pulsing arrow pointing deeper into the mountains. GPS was useless, phones were dead. Every human-made signal had vanished. The road narrowed to dirt and gravel. Pine trees thickened around us, dark and tall, crowding in like sentries. Fog clung to the ground. It was late afternoon, but the light already felt wrong. Dull. Heavy. Sarah gripped the dashboard. You sure this is the right way? No, I said. But the drone is. We drove until the road became more suggestion than structure. Eventually, we had to stop. A tree had fallen across the trail ahead, old and rotting, split by lightning or time. Maybe both. I killed the engine. We walk from here. Sarah looked at the tree, then the woods beyond. That's the part in horror movies where I say we shouldn't. So I won't bother. I slung the duffel over my shoulder, the drone buzzing faintly inside. It wasn't just guiding us anymore. It was pulling me forward. Like gravity. We hiked in silence for nearly an hour. Then the forest changed. No birds. No insects. The wind stopped moving. The trees leaned. Not fallen. Just tilted, all bowing in the same direction like they were worshipping something deeper in. Then, the humming started. It didn't come from the drone. It came from the air. Low, like an engine underwater. It vibrated through the trees and into our bones. Sarah flinched. They're close. We reached a clearing. That's when I saw it. A dark valley below, sunk between jagged cliffs. And in the center, the breach structure. It looked like it had been grown, not built. Sharp, spiraling pillars rising from the ground like thorns. They pulsed faintly, black veins glowing with dull light. The rift hovered just above it, a tear in the sky, crackling with shifting colors and soundless movement. Below it, black-suited figures walked in formation. Constructs. But some of them looked newer. Sharper. More refined. They moved faster. Cleaner. They'd evolved. Sarah whispered, how many? Too many. The drone pushed its way out of the duffel. Hovered now, unsupported, limbs extended, eyes glowing white. A symbol formed in the air, a broken ring, split through its center. Severance point identified. Manual initiation required. Warning. Interface is non-reversible. I looked to Sarah. It wants me to finish this. What does that mean? I think I swallowed. It means I have to connect to it. Link my mind. Cut the tether to the constructs. Shut the signal down from the source. She stepped in front of me. And what happens to you? The drone pulsed brighter. Urgent. I didn't have an answer. Then, behind us, branches snapped. Fast movement. We turned. They were coming. 6 of them, emerging from the trees, silent and human. Eyes like black pits. Arms too long. Faces shifting like latex over wireframes. They didn't run. They drifted. The drone spoke directly, its voice echoing across the clearing. Severance must occur before contact. Sarah pulled her pistol and stepped forward. Then go. I'll buy you time. Sarah, now. I ran. Down the slope. Toward the breach. Toward the spires. Behind me, the air cracked with gunfire. The sound of bones breaking. Screams. I didn't look back. I reached the black structure. The drone hovered in front of it, its limbs reshaping into a spiral tool, glowing with threads of energy. The surface of the structure opened like a flower unfolding in reverse. A seat emerged. A place for me. The drone floated above it, waiting. Above us, the rift pulsed faster. And I understood, this wasn't just about shutting it down. This was about taking its place. I hesitated at the edge of the breach platform. The drone hovered before me, limbs splayed, humming louder now, its signals bouncing off the walls of the valley in layered waves. The black structure, part machine, part mineral, had reshaped itself fully. What looked like a throne now stood in the center, wrapped in tendrils of dark material that pulsed like veins. It wasn't made to hold someone. It was made to merge. Severance must occur before contact. The drone's words echoed in my mind, but there was no room left for doubt. The constructs were coming. Sarah had stayed behind to give me this moment. This choice. Above, the breach shimmered, taller now, almost a vertical scar in the sky, pulsing like it was alive. Beyond it, I caught glimpses of cities that didn't belong to our world, of geometries that bent light and shadow in ways my eyes weren't meant to see. Something on the other side was watching, waiting. I stepped into the seat. Immediately, the surface rose around me, locking my arms and legs in place. Cold tendrils slid beneath my skin, needle-thin, painless but immediate. They weren't piercing me. They were reading me. I screamed, but no sound came. My voice was gone. My body felt like glass under pressure, filled with heat, with noise, with otherness. My vision split and refocused. I saw the valley not just as terrain, but as a map of energy. Lines, channels, frequencies. And at the center, the signal. The core frequency, the one the constructs followed, the one that bound them all. It had a source, and it had a switch. I saw the choice clearly now. The breach could not be closed, not the way I'd hoped. It wasn't a door. It was a vein, a wound in the world, pumping data and intention into everything it touched. The constructs weren't just guards. They were carriers. If I severed the signal, the cost wasn't just the drone. It was me. I would become the anchor, a firewall, a permanent barrier. The breach would seal, yes, but only if I tethered myself to it. I wouldn't die, not exactly, but I wouldn't be human anymore either. My last thought was of Sarah. And then the drone's voice filled me, soft, final. Thank you, observer. I reached out through the interface, mentally, instinctively, and cut the tether. A wave of force pulsed out from the spire. Across the valley, the constructs froze. Mid-motion, mid-step. Their limbs locked, their heads twitched skyward. One by one, they dropped, collapsing into heaps of black bone and false skin. The breach screamed, a sound like gravity tearing loose. The sky fractured in silence. Light bent. Trees burned without fire. And then, silence. Just wind. The breach was closed. The drone had gone inert, its light extinguished. And I remained. Eyes open, body still. But my mind spread. Every signal, every movement of data across the spectrum, I felt it. I filtered it. I blocked what didn't belong. I became the wall between our world and what waited on the other side. Somewhere, far away, a woman screamed my name. But I couldn't answer. Not anymore. I don't know how long I remained inside the interface. Time stopped having meaning once I became part of the breach's lock, once I replaced the signal. Seconds bled into hours. Days. Maybe years. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't breathing. I simply was. A presence trapped in a firewall built from flesh and alien code. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel hunger. I felt data. Constant, surging, unnatural information, like a river of language running in reverse. Symbols from the other side beat against me like fists on a door. They wanted in, and I kept them out. Then, a voice. Not the drone. Not the constructs. Hers. Faint. Fragile. Real. If you're in there. I made it. I made it out. Sarah, you stopped it. It's gone. They're gone. The words echoed in a space I no longer had a body to hold them with. But they were clear. I've been back to the valley. It's different now. Quiet. The air feels still. She paused, voice breaking. But I know you're still in there. She was right. I felt her presence, warm, defiant, skimming the edge of the breach. She hadn't left me behind. I brought something, she said. Suddenly, a spike in the signal, brief, controlled. A frequency ping. My own. Reflected back at me. She'd found a way to touch the firewall without opening it. I pushed back. Just a pulse. A whisper of return. I felt her smile. I knew it. You're still you. The link faded slowly. But she didn't leave in silence. Her last words lingered, embedded in the barrier. I'll come back again. You're not lost. You're just holding the line. And she was gone. The valley quieted. The constructs never rose again. The breach remained shut. And me? I watched. I filtered. I endured. Not dead. Not alive. Just a man sitting inside a machine, holding back a universe that doesn't understand mercy. End of transmission. The signal beneath. Status, contained. Observer, online. Watch cycle, infinity. Do not attempt reactivation. Do not approach the cascade node. You were not meant to hear this. But now you have. And it remembers.